If this is my last song, if this is my final day, if tomorrow I'll be gone, what do I want to say?
I'm gratified to see so many of Julie's friends here. We have people from church, exercise class, American Legion, neighbors, strangers who walked in, I don't know. Nobody's a stranger though, right?
No.
In a moment I'll give my eulogy, and then Julie's daughter Dasha will have some words to say. I believe her husband Alan and sons Carl and John also want to say something. And then we'll open up. If anybody else wants to say a few words, you'll be welcome. First, though, I'd like to invite Joe Kovac, Senior Minister of the Center for Spiritual Living, St. George, to give an opening prayer.
Good morning. It's not afternoon yet, is it?
Not quite.
All right, so we're staying appropriate. If I ask you to please bow your heads and take a deep breath in, anchor in this sacred moment. Recognizing there is one presence, one power, one infinite love that is the source of all, moving through all of creation. The sacred presence, known by many names and understood in many ways, is the very breath we breathe here and now. It is life itself. It is the source of all peace and love and comfort. It is here now, fully present. I know that divine love holds each person gathered here, surrounding us, moving in and as and through us, gently supporting every heart that is present. For in God's presence, there is compassion, there is strength, there is a deep, abiding peace. I affirm that as we gather here today to honor and celebrate the life of our beloved Julie, we're guided, in comfort and the assurance that love in life is never lost. The life that we recognize here today is eternal. Knowing that God as divine peace is soothing grief, soothing the weight of loss, comforting each and every one. Knowing that God as divine love shines the light before us. God as divine wisdom sustains us. I'm thankful for Spirit healing every heart present and offering its comfort and courage to those who feel the weight of loss, affirming that gentle remembrance that this presence is always present, for it is truly all there is. Call it God or Spirit, the divine, however we each understand it. Again, knowing the truth is that it is all that there is being expressed, including our beloved Julie's life. I give thanks for her life and this wonderful life, for being able to be present here, blessing all who are present and those who could not make it for whatever reason, knowing that all is truly well and good. Knowing that this word is heard and fulfilled by the one, I release it into the law of love, trusting completely in the goodness unfolding here and now. We say this and affirm this together, and so it is. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. We gather today to honor the life of Julie Adkins-Smith, a woman of quiet strength, deep compassion, and unwavering devotion to those she loved. Julie was born in Nuremberg, Germany, October 23, 1942, in the shadow of a world at war. Her father was an officer in the German army, so was absent from her earliest years, and all she knew of him was a photograph that her mother kept in the house. When he finally returned after the war and sometime in a POW camp, her mother said, "Yulchen, here is your father." Julie pointed at the photograph and said, "No, that's my father." From those early days, she carried with her a resilience and grace that would shape the rest of her life. At just 19, she crossed an ocean to begin a new world, new life in the United States, hand in hand with her first husband, Austin Adkins, whom she met and married while he was stationed in Germany. Together, they built a life and a family, raising 2 children, Michael and Dasha, who in turn gave her the joy of 4 grandsons. After Austin's passing in 1985, Julie's story took a new turn, one that brought me and her together. We met, of all places, at a country western dance class. Maybe it's the music that brought us together, but I think it was really her smile. Warm, knowing, and just a little bit mischievous. We married in 1987, and from that day forward, I had the privilege of walking hand in hand with her through life. Before we married, she told me she had health challenges that likely would limit her life to her mid-60s. She faced her mortality with more grace and peace than anyone else I've ever known, even forcing conversations with me about what I should do after she passes. One of the things was get married. And she had many of those conversations with, talking about one of our friends, and this is someone I think would make a good wife for you. I can't imagine very many husbands or wives showing that much love and compassion for a spouse, and I'm grateful. Julie had great inner strength, which I believe is what kept her alive longer than she expected. But that strength sometimes manifested as stubbornness. There were some things that if I didn't do it her way, it was wrong, period. Not a different way, just wrong. She sometimes reminded me we had one fight in our lives, but she couldn't remember what it was about. Julie was a woman of intellect and purpose. She earned a master's degree in speech-language pathology from the University of Texas at El Paso and dedicated her career to helping children find their voices. In the classrooms of West Texas, New Mexico, and the Central Valley of California, she brought patience, empathy, and a fierce belief in every child's potential. Her work was not just a job, it was a dedication. In 2021, we moved to Hurricane, seeking a quieter pace and the beauty of the red rocks around us. Even in retirement, though, Julie remained a steadfast presence, reading, gardening, teaching, crochet, staying connected with family near and far. She had a gift for listening, for remembering the little things, and for making people feel seen and appreciated. Due to her health challenges, Julie was susceptible to infections, including pneumonia, which she had over 75 times. I remember when she told us to a doctor the first time we visited him. He was so surprised, he just sat back and said, "You shouldn't be alive." She eventually was put on supplemental oxygen, which she used sparingly at first, but with greater frequency as time passed. On Labor Day, she fell and broke several bones and contracted another pneumonia on October 13th. She was hospitalized 4 days later and passed peacefully on October 20th, 3 days before her 83rd birthday. I'm comforted by the 15 to 20 additional years we had together, and that she passed peacefully and as she lived on her own terms. Julie was many things: a devoted mother and grandmother, a loving wife, dedicated therapist, and loyal friend. But above all, she was a woman who lived with integrity and heart. She didn't seek the spotlight, but she lit up the room when she entered. She didn't speak loudly, but her words carried weight. She didn't rush, but was there when it mattered. As we say goodbye, I carry her legacy forward in the laughter of her grandchildren, the lives of students she helped, and in love she gave so freely. Julie's story doesn't end here. It lives on in the hearts of all of us who were lucky enough to know her. Years ago, she and I first read the poem Immortality, often known better by its opening line. We both agreed it was a perfect poem for memorial services. The best information I have is that it was written by Claire Harner in 1934, but it's been attributed to others as well because the author never had it copyrighted. I've heard two stories about the circumstances in which it was written. One is that she wrote it for a brother who died suddenly. The other more poignant story, which I hope is true but doubt, is that she wrote it for a refugee friend, a Jewish friend, who had come to the United States from Germany, but was unable to return to Germany to see her dying mother because of the German oppression of Jews at that time. Julie wanted me to read this at her memorial. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on the snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn's rain. When you awaken in the morning hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circle flight. I am the soft star that shines at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. Julie danced into my life and will never dance out of my heart. Rest well, my love. Tasha?
Still morning? Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here to celebrate my mother's life. Actually, I do better without my glasses, which is... as some of it's repetitive of what Charles said, but Mom had a difficult start. She was born during World War II in Nuremberg, Germany. Food and water and shelter were scarce. She was the only child, and she demonstrated resilience in the face of numerous trials and tribulations. Mom was 18 when she met my father, Austin, in 1960, and they dated for 2 years, and they got married in 1962. I'm actually kind of surprised my grandfather let her marry an American military. My mother was my foundation and my rock. I feel like I've lost the one I turned to when I was happy, sad, and wanted encouragement and needed guidance. Without my mom, I feel displaced and alone at times, and these are some of the reasons why. With my father serving a tour in Vietnam during the war and 2 tours in Korea, my mom was my mom and my dad because my dad was gone at war and in Korea. So Mom was everything. But she took care of my brother and I with the responsibility of taking care of both of us. It was difficult for one person. But she did it with compassion, love, pride, and joy. And I know it was hard for her. And she also went to night school and got her associate's degree. She was persistent. She never gave up. She was a very strong woman. She earned her master's degree several years later in 1977. And she had a distinguished career with speech-language pathology for 30 years. So Mom taught me unconditional love. She hugged me when I went running into her arms, which she repeated later on when the boys went running into her arms. She loved them unconditionally. She would hold my hand, hugged me, kissed me often. I knew I was well loved. I explained the true meaning of unconditional love to the boys. That was taught to me, so I wanted to teach that to my boys so they know what that is. And they knew Mom and I deeply loved them forever. Whenever we would visit, Mom would make a point of it and ask us, what do you want? And she always made wonderful German goulash. So that was my answer, German goulash, German potato salad, and for quite a long time she loved making peach cobbler, which for several years she didn't make it, so I really miss it. But she would make us German goulash, potato salad, and peach cobbler. So she'd always want to make everybody else happy. She'd do whatever she could to make everybody happy. She had that contagious, happy smile all the time. She was a kind-hearted, giving person. Mom was compassionate to others, especially those who didn't have anything. And I think part of that was her upbringing from being in Germany and throughout the war. She wanted to help people. She would carry canned food. I'd ask her, Mom, why are these beanie weenie things in the car? And water and so forth. She'd carry that in her car, and she'd hand them out to the homeless people when they'd walk up to her car, and she'd roll the window down and hand them something. So that was part of her kindness and her compassion to others. She volunteered with PTA at the carnivals, the book fairs. And then my brother and I were swimmers. She wanted us to be in something where she could just drop both of us off and we wouldn't get in trouble and be busy. So we were both swimmers. So she volunteered at the swim events also. So she would be like the swim timekeeper and the lane judge and so forth. So she was very busy. She kept us busy, which kept us out of trouble. And she was very busy. So another thing she taught me was honesty. When I was 7 years old, I liked bubblegum a lot. And I took a piece of bubblegum from the store without paying for it. So Mom discovered that I took that, and she made me return it to the store manager. I was in tears and apologized, and Mom and the store manager firmly told me, do not ever do that again. So that was my lifelong lesson. I never took anything again without paying for it. It was my number one rule, and I taught that to my boys also, to always be honest. And just to let you know, I had a career with 7-Eleven and was a manager. And so I used that honesty with that career also. And never took another thing. And tried to instill that in all my employees. But sometimes that doesn't work. So, I forgot which one was mine, but whatever. Mom, as Charles was talking about Mom's strength, Mom had unbelievable strength. She never gave up. In 2006, she had a cancerous baseball-sized tumor in her abdomen. She went through chemotherapy, and the tumor disappeared, and she went into remission. And she loves the boys and I so much, but she was so sick, we didn't see her for like 8 months. So that's how sick she was during that time. So thankfully it disappeared, and she went into remission. She lived with COPD for 30 years, and COPD blocks the airflow to your lungs. She had pneumonia over 75 times, and pneumonia fills liquid into your lungs or pus. And she had, the last thing she had for 8 to 10 years was interstitial lung disease. And that is inflammation and scarring on the lung tissues that brings the air. So I don't know how she breathed, basically, because she had 3 different types of lung problems. But she did, the average person lives 3 to 5 years with the interstitial lung disease. Mom lived with it for 8 to 10 years. That just shows how strong and strong-willed person she was. But we're deeply grateful for my mother's strength and resilience, which gave us 15 additional years, as Charles spoke about. Mom gave us special love names, and Charles was her love, and I was her lovey, and the boys, her grandson, were her loveys. Sometimes she mixed them up, and I'm like, no, I'm Lovey, and sometimes she mixed us up. But we all appreciated our cherished love names that she gave us. Mom enjoyed crocheting, blankets, hats, scarves, shawls, all these things. And she did enjoy making angels out of all different kind of things too, like the ribbons and the glass and beaded things. She loved to take walks. She loved her aerobics, cooking, baking, eating dark chocolate with almonds or some kind of nuts in it, playing cards, especially Skip-O, playing with her grandsons, trains, Legos, swinging them, and scootering. She wanted to be better at scootering, so at home she went on a scooter and went in the sidewalk crack and fell and broke her hip. So I told Charles, no more scootering for her. So she wanted to be the best at what she could anytime. So as you think of Mom and honor her today and in the future, do one of those fun things that Mom enjoyed that I mentioned. And that would be great if you thought about her and played Skip-O or baked something special or crocheted if you know how or did aerobics, one of those things. So even though our heart aches for her absence, and boy does it for me, hold on. I find comfort in knowing her spirit surrounds us in different ways. Sorry. The blooming of roses. She and I love roses. And in the quiet moments, like sunrises and sunsets. So today we honor and remember her, and we also give thanks. We celebrate her love and her life and the privilege of having her 82 years. Her legacy lives on through us and through the boys and through Charles. And as we have the values that I mentioned that she's instilled in us, love, honesty, strength, and compassion. Thank you, Mom. I love you with all my heart. Your loving daughter. And then I wanted to say, Matthew 5:4, blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. And then John 3:16 is one of my favorite. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. Amen. Thank you. I did it.
I almost came up with
I did it. Thank you. Now my husband's going to say a few words, and then her grandsons, John and Carl. Thank you.
I actually came up with a title for my talk, How I Met Your Mother. So how I met Dasha's mother, Julie. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself because it's interesting how things in life come together. Grew up near a small town, Attica, New York, which is not that far from Buffalo, New York. Got my degree in chemical engineering, then moved to Tacoma, Washington. Now that was appropriate since this is American Legion. My father was in the Air Force at the end of the Korean War, and at the time, 1977, the world was running out of oil, and the United States was the Saudi Arabia of oil, so Gulf Oil had a coal liquefaction plant. Interestingly enough, North Fort Lewis, the Army base in Tacoma, and across the street is the McChord Air Force Base. And they had a really nice NCO club that we could visit. Anyways, I was there in Tacoma for 4 years. President Reagan kind of lost faith in a synthetic fuels program, which was a good thing. So I'd spent the next several years in Oklahoma, New Mexico, and West Texas in the oil field, and was later transferred to San Ramon, California, which is the other side of the bay from San Francisco. And I wasn't really a desk person. I like to, be out there, get your hands dirty kind of thing. So when the opportunity came up, I put in for a transfer to work at the El Paso refinery. So I worked there for a couple of years, and Dosh and I met through a mutual friend and a coworker, Frances Perry. And the refinery was kind of split in two refineries since Chevron had bought the Texaco refinery. And all the black sheep, including myself, they went to the Texaco refinery. So I'd see Frances every once in a while. She probably knew a lot more about me than I did about her. You know how your reputation precedes yourself, good or bad. And so we met each other. We went out a few times. And another interesting fun fact was a few months before that, I bought a used, large, gray Cadillac. So anyways, we meet Julie and Charles and drive up in the big Cadillac, And you don't have a second chance to make a first impression. So anyways, we had pleasantries. I forget exactly what happened that day, but I'm sure before Dasha left, or I was to take her home, Julie probably said, marry him, don't let him get away. And so I proposed to Dasha, then I got transferred to San Ramon, California. So then, actually it was Los Angeles, sorry. So, we bought her a couple of promise rings. She goes, I'll never see him again. So, no, I hadn't proposed yet. I said I would. So I came back, it was like around Thanksgiving, or, how guys,
My birthday.
you know how guys are with dates. So I came back on her birthday and proposed. Came back on her birthday and proposed in El Paso. I had to go back to work there at the refinery. So, we'd arranged things. Got married in Las Vegas. The interesting thing is that I had drove from LA to Las Vegas, and Dasha and David and all drove from El Paso to Las Vegas, and we met within 5 minutes in front of the hotel, the Monte Carlo. So we got married. And the interesting thing about marriage is that you adopt this extended family that you've never met, know anything about. But it worked out pretty well, and we went on some big trips, like to Alaska, a cruise. And there was another trip, wasn't there?
Hawaii.
Yeah, I went to Hawaii. So, that was something I'll always remember about our extended family. And so I guess I'll conclude and then turn this over to John and Carl. So the rest is history.
Hello, my name is John. Let me just pull this up, technology.
He's the one with the hand up.
I'm the one where the hair flies everywhere every time in the photos. Okay. So welcome. Okay, now it's the afternoon. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is John. Thank you for coming. And I would like to remind everyone that today is a day to remember my Oma, my German grandma, Julie Adkins-Smith. She loved me to death and continued to love me throughout my years. Even through the hardest challenges, she always supported me for what I wanted to do and who I was. She was a very strong-willed woman, as my mom and everyone has seen her. And I know that with her strong will, she hung on to me and my brother to survive, to see us through the many goals of our lives, whether it was high school, middle school, college graduation. She wanted to be there, and that was another bookmark checking off to live a few more years. She always wanted to play with us and have fun. We played cops and robbers around, and she'd find us all the time. I don't know how, because we were always hiding in the desert, but she somehow found us before we could ever run to the next tree or bush. I loved baking for her. She loved baking brownies with us and showing us the things that she loved, whether it was crocheting or just having a good time. And she always told me the most important thing to always remember, and the only thing that she always really wanted, was to have more time. That was always her birthday present every time she lived another year. I just want to thank you all for coming for this very special occasion. Whether you're from the church that she was a part of, whether you played cards with her, playing Skippo, whether you met her doing crochet or aerobics, or just a really close friend. We want to thank you all for coming. I'm very thankful that she lived the life that she did, and she was very thankful to have a very faithful husband who I'm very dearly grateful that my Opa was able to give her a happy life, and his relatives and everyone who is here today to give her the life that she wanted from coming from a hard life from the beginning. Thank you all.
I'm the other one. Yeah. Thank you all for being here. It means a lot to see how many lives that Oma touched, and all the love for her. I've known Oma my entire life, along with my brother, so I guess even though my brother and I share a lot of experiences together with Oma and Opa, I guess I can share sort of personally how that manifests for me and what it meant. I guess sort of what John mentioned, my Oma had these very specific goals because essentially for my entire life, she was dying. She was convinced of her death. And she said, I just want to make it to the middle school graduation. She made it. And then, well, now I got to make it to the high school graduation. And she made it to the college too. And so, but I think that mindset really encouraged her to live like she was dying. And she did a lot of things. She rode the scooters with us, which, as mentioned, might not have been the best idea. She got a little competitive on the scooter. But for me, I think it came out through her love for us. Some of my earliest memories, I remember at the house in California, Oma and Opa lived on the side of this massive cliff. And at the bottom of the cliff, there's this train track. And I love trains a lot, especially as a 4-year-old. So they had this step stool that usually was reserved for the cat's food. But when I was there, the cat ate on the floor because I needed to see over the wall to see the train. So she would set up the step stool and I'd climb up. And I just remember a lot of those things very fondly. And now looking back, I see that I share a lot in common with Oma. I think it skipped mom and skipped a generation and came to me. She loves rocks. It's pretty apparent here. There's a lot of rocks here. She was very excited when I told her I was going to be a geological engineer, and I had access to some cool rocks. And she was very excited about that. I remember I had a rock collection, all these other things. But then also more recently, there's some subtle things that you come to realize. My friends figured out the influence of Oma on me when we went to Oktoberfest in Breckenridge. It was very clear then And I kind of forgot it was in me. And really, I think it isn't me because I'm American. I'm not, and everything that I know about Germany and all these things is from Oma, from her making all these dishes when I was little, to the goulash. She really loved lingonberry, which is kind of an exotic berry. Don't feel bad if you don't know about it. It's kind of a weird thing. But the lingonberry she really loved. And I remember when I was at the Oktoberfest, I got this big dumpling, which she also loved. And I asked the guy, I saw there was a huge 5-gallon tub of lingonberry, like sauce. And I asked him, can you give me a big scoop of sauce? And he was German, so he has a big smile on his face. And he's like, you are a true German. You know about the lingonberry. And so he had a big smile, and all I could think about was Oma and her smile and how much she loved lingonberry. So I guess now, sort of with her final passing or falling asleep in the Lord, in a weird way, I think she prepared us all very well. She reminded us very often that it was a blessing that she's here, and it really was a blessing to have her for so long. And at least as Christians, we have this phrase in Greek for the crucifixion of Christ. It's joyful sorrow, and it's a sorrow. It's the crucifixion, but there's also joy because we know that it doesn't stop at the crucifixion. There's the resurrection, right? So I just pray, and we should all pray that her memory be eternal in the kingdom of heaven, and that the Lord continues to have mercy on us all. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
We've got a taco bar lunch set up in the back, but before we do that, I'd like to give other people an opportunity to say a few words if you would like to. Marina, why did I know that you would be eager?
Oh my God, don't give her a microphone.
3-minute time limit.
A limited time.
As long as you can stand.
As long as I can stand. Oh, I love you, John. Yes. I first want to say thank you for sharing your stories of Julie. I haven't known Julie but just a few years, and so it was really fun to hear your stories about her and see her pictures and see that beautiful young woman that's still shown in this old woman in my life. And Julie and Charles became part of Centers for Spiritual Living pretty quickly after they moved here because they were members in California. And so they stepped right in, and it didn't take Charles very long to recognize that we needed him desperately, and his skills and all of that. And we're so grateful for their coming here. And personally, Julie touched my heart from the very beginning. I didn't know very much about her, but whenever I was with her, that smile lit up my soul, and her eyes looked straight through me, and she asked poignant questions about things that challenged me to be authentic, and I felt very seen and heard and appreciated and loved in her presence. Even though we didn't have a day-to-day interaction, she was a big part of my life at CSL. And I was privileged in the last weeks of her life to see her a lot more. Charles was busy taking care of her, so I would transport our donations to him, and he would still take it to the bank. But every time I saw her in the hospital or visited the home to deliver proceeds, I got to sit and visit for a half an hour or so and hear her stories. And so in the last 6 weeks of her life, I learned more about her than I did in the previous 5 years, and I feel really super blessed about that. And I got to visit with Charles more too, of course. They always, as a couple, touched my heart. The love and respect and authenticity was always so present. I delighted to watch them dance We weren't having in-person services when they moved here, but we would occasionally have outdoor gatherings to try to connect, and we'd play music, and every time they would get up and do their beautiful dancing together. And she maybe had to be helped into the wherever we were, but boy howdy, she could stand up and dance with him. And that was a delight, and I will never forget that. And I'm most grateful for the last few weeks, because I, like her, I don't have a terminal disease, but think about how to live my last chapters of my life a lot. And she modeled so beautifully how to be gracious and how to do it consciously and with joy and without fear. And I thanked her that last day. I got to see her the day before she died, and in the hospital. And I thanked her for modeling that for me, and that I prayed that I can live my last days as graciously and consciously as she did. And to hear her say she was ready, she told me, she said, "I'm ready, Marina. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to leave this body that no longer serves me and to take her next adventure." And it was beautiful to share that moment with her in the hospital. And I will be forever blessed by her and Charles. And that's it. I can stand, but I'll leave.
Thank you, Marina. Would anybody else like to say a few words? If not, I'll invite Joe back up for any comments he may have and a closing prayer.
Thank you, Charles. Yeah, I too want to say thank you. That and like Marina, I've only known her the last few years of my life, and she's part of our spiritual center, and I look at life as always that there's a blessing there. And so when I think of Julie, she was an entire spiritual teaching. Her whole life was. And there's a saying that we have in our movement is it's loving what is. And I don't know how too many people that could go through their life knowing ahead of time that you're going to have a short life, and it's probably not going to be one that's really fun, and you probably have an idea of how it's going to end. And yet, what a blessing. I mean, if you think about it, none of us are getting out of here alive. No. Right? But we act all the time as if we're not. She had the blessing of living. One of my favorite sayings is from the movie Dead Poets Society. That's carpe diem. Seize the day, seize the moment. And in the 3 years that I knew her, that was her life. She seized every moment. When I first met her, I saw the frail elder woman. And then she put me in my place in a conversation because she didn't like something I had said. And then I was afraid of her for a little bit after that. I was like, I need to be quite mindful around her. See, well, I'm glad I'm not alone. But yet, what a blessing. Because for me, it was like, oh, I can have a real conversation with this person. Yeah, I'm your minister, but I'm a person. And I'm a life. And I said something that she showed me was not received as well as I intended it to be. And so I remember that conversation. That made me a better person. And I'm grateful for that interaction. I'm grateful for her. Every time she showed up at our center, she lit the room up. And she had that, she was like a quiet powerhouse, meaning like, it's just like she could activate when she wanted to. Otherwise, she was quite reserved and you wouldn't think much of her. Again, I'm just so grateful to hear the other parts of her life. She had shared some parts of her early life in Germany with me, but to hear it through your memories is special. So thank you. And before I do end in prayer, was there anyone else that wanted to say anything? Okay. So let's bow our heads again, if you don't mind. I'm recognizing again in this room that there are many faiths. I'm just going to offer gratitude and thanks for this time, this special, this sacred last hour that we've had together. Many lives, but all are of the one life. Calling it God, calling it Jesus, calling it Mary, calling it Father, it does not matter. It is what it is. And I like to call it love. And love was being expressed in and through Julie's life perfectly. And I am so grateful that we are all blessed to have known Julie in whatever amount of time we did. It was perfect. And I do believe that life is eternal. And I do know that she lives on, not just in our memories, but in spirit. I call it spirit. You can call it what you want, the life hereafter. But we know life does not end. This is an experience that we are having. And I do know that she is now taking great, deep, comfortable breaths where she is, and in absolute love and comfort. And again, knowing and comforting each one of us as we have the experience of dealing with loss. We call it grieving, but yet let us turn to that, from that sorrow to that joy, as was spoken about previously, and knowing that joy is always waiting for us to call upon it. And so I am grateful for the love and the joy and the laughter that Julie brought to all of us. And I know that it continues in each one of us in her memory and on. Thank you, God. Amen. And so it is. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you all again for coming. I know those of you who did not choose to speak have your own memories of Julie. And I'm grateful that we were able to share her life with each and every one of you, and the ones who could not make it also. I want to close with a song that really means a lot to me, and I think Julie liked it too, although we didn't talk about it much, by Daniel Nahmod, one of the singers of the New Thought movement.
If this is my last song, if this is my final day, if tomorrow I'll be gone, what do I want to say? If this is my last song, if it's my time to go, when my body's moved on, what will I have to show? No, not fortune or fame, they scatter to the wind. The things that make a name just don't matter in the end. But is the world a little more peaceful? Oceans and sky a little more blue? Is humankind a little bit wiser about the good that we can do? Does the sun shine a little bit brighter where before there was only rain? If so, then I'm glad I came. If these are my last words for all of the earth to hear, if all that I have ever been is about to disappear, if these are my last words, there's nothing that I need to say. I have only tried to serve. It's never been about talking anyway. So much hurt there is to heal, it's hard to understand. All I can hope to feel is that I am doing what I can. Is the world a little more peaceful? Oceans and sky a little more blue? Is humankind a little bit wiser about the good that we can do? Does the sun shine a little bit brighter where before there was only rain? If so, then I'm glad I came. Have I given hope to the hopeless? Has a hungry soul been fed? Has a child stood a little bit taller 'cause of something that I said? Have I left a little kindness? Have I eased a little pain? If so, then I'm glad I came. For that, I'm so glad I came. If this is my last song, what do I leave behind? What do I pass on if I am out?